Happy Friday. Welcome to my house. It's being Guillén on La Vida Baseball. Welcome to another Friday. We made it to another one.
Yeah. You know, it's starting to get a little nippier in Chicago, which means playoff baseball, which means October baseball, which is very exciting stuff. Well, now we have NFL, NBA, soccer. We have all the sports going on at once, which is kind of cool too. So
No, I think that there's enough for everybody to go around, and thank you in for tuning in with us. Let us know about what you're thinking, your comments. Just put them all there in the box. We'll chime in as we can and we go. Today, no Ozzy Sr. Unfortunately, he has to be doing work. Ozzy works really hard. He is doing NBC, so which means he does the pre and post game show.
or that, or he got burned down in the fire.
So let's do this real quick. So
he almost caught.
Before we forget, and you forget, follow us on social media. But it is Hispanic Heritage Month, and we'll be talking about Hispanic Heritage Month. Look at this beautiful logo. We'll be talking about it throughout the show. We obviously have different opinions about it. I think Hispanic Heritage Month means different things to different people. But before we get into that amazing topic, let's do one of my favorite segments ever. It's Doing It for the Gram, and it's when you guys get to see a little bit of behind the scenes of what it's like to be living with the Guilléns. So check out this first video. We're going to call this one Up in Smoke, and we'll let you guys watch, and then we'll break it down, and we'll have Oni break down the story. Okay, so first of all, I want to say everybody was safe. No animals were hurt or children. So I wasn't there when this video was filmed. I got scared once I saw the posting of it. We reposted it like a couple days after it actually happened, but I showed up at my parents' house the day after. It was like literally 2 days after.
You're like, it's a little smoky.
And I was like, what? Why does it smell like smoke in the house? Like it literally smelled like burnt wood. And I look at the chimney and it's just like black right now. And then you showed me the video of what had happened. And obviously
I was a little hesitant to show it because at first you're a little bit like, it wasn't funny until now. Like, it's like, what's going on? Like, we're going to have to call like the fire department. We had been drinking all day and we wanted to have drinks by the fireplace, which is nice. You want to get it on. First time we're turning it on. Long story short, the that we put on was too big for such a small chimney. It was fine. My mom said, don't touch it. It's fine. Of course, my dad had too many cocktails. He starts to drink. He thinks he's like Mr. Wood, Mr. Caveman. He starts playing with it, throws water on it because he thinks he's going to shut it off. The water causes big smoke cloud to come, and it starts going all over the house. Now it's like, now I can't breathe. Like every time I breathe, I'm like, it hurts. Now I have to go outside. My mom is yelling at my dad. His eyes are red because he won't get out of the smoke. So it's like, dude, you got to get out of there. By the way, shout out to everyone who's a firefighter.
Yeah.
Like this reminded me of the movie Backdraft.
I'm scared. I'm petrified of fire. I don't like chimneys. I don't like anything with fire. I don't like turning things on. The grill and food.
Yeah, it's scary.
It's scary. I have one upstairs, never been turned on.
Yeah, it's very, very scary. You have to be very careful. We have little kids around. This fireplace won't be turned on when Adela's there. It gets hot. It's a beautiful fireplace, but you have to be very, very careful. And a little nice leisure time turned into, why is my throat hurting? I had asthma when I was very young, so I don't know why, but I took 2 deep breaths and I felt it go. I felt it go right into my lungs.
Well,
I had to get out of there.
Ozzy Guillén, great baseball manager. Horrible doing things around the house like fires.
He's good at pain, but I will say this: it's a Guillén thing. It's a Guillén trait, but I know my place.
I don't turn it on. Exactly. I would have had my father-in-law turn it on.
Exactly.
I would have had. I don't even turn on the oven.
Exactly. I don't like AC or anything like that has to do around the house. I leave it to the professionals.
Air fryer, computer. Correct. I know what I'm really good at. So I hope that you guys enjoyed that. No one was hurt. The second video is what usually happens at Ozzy's house when he's not working. Check this one out.
So I mean, listen. Anyone that knows, he's getting ready to go to work here. This is literally, and my mom, we all have access to the Instagram account, being Guillén, which is linked to La Vida Baseball. My dad claims that he's a bad sleeper, but he also takes like 6 naps throughout the day.
So the part of this story that's really interesting, and it's funny, and I want you guys to know this. When Ozzy was managing, he would take power naps. So I want to know the people at NBC to tell us, is Ozzy sleeping before the show? The pre and post, because he always takes power naps.
Hopefully not during.
Hopefully not.
He's like, oh, it's a boring inning.
Well, because he's got to obviously watch the game. But I'm saying he always naps. He did it. He did it as a manager. As a manager, I remember the best prank ever was Mark Burley. I think it was Minnesota.
He said the game started or something.
No,
right?
He turned the clock like 15, 20 minutes later.
That's awesome.
And Ozzy woke up freaking out. But it was something that he did, like a nice little 20-minute nap.
Another Guillén thing. We're big sleepers. The only one in our family that doesn't sleep a lot is Ozzy, because he has his young kids, and he's always been an early riser. Even when he used to drink, this guy is an early riser.
I always used to. I don't know. I think that I don't sleep long, but I sleep like
you sleep well.
I sleep well.
But yeah, my dad just has a horrible sleep, and he's always napping in every chance that he gets. So he's fallen asleep with cigars in his hands, going back to the fireplace. So. Long story short, my dad's a very, very dangerous being to be around. So you just never know what you're going to get.
So let's get into here's the Hispanic Heritage Month. Let's kick it off with a team that just clinched.
The team that I picked to win the World Series.
I think you're not the only one. I think the Dodgers, the LA Dodgers, were a favorite to win. Meaning, if you bet them in Vegas, you probably won't be making a lot of money.
You're right. They got the biggest, so the smallest.
They're the first team to clinch. So not surprised. I liked it though because they're the team with the most to lose in a 60-game season. And we talked about this. I'm not taking away from the season because I feel like if you did good for you. But if you did bad,
don't put too much.
I don't put too much emphasis on it. Just like if next year, if you did great this year, I'm not putting a lot of emphasis on it for next year.
This, I feel like it's like we know the Dodgers have what they can do through 162 games because they've done it for the last 5-6 years. We don't know what San Diego can do. We don't know what the White Sox can do. We don't know what the Marlins can do. The Dodgers have been good for Toronto. The Dodgers have been good for a long, long time. They allegedly got cheated out of a World Series with the Astros. We've talked about that many times. They clinched they were the first to clinch a postseason. They're going to have the playoffs in the West Coast, which I don't know if that's going to affect them, but they got to do the less travel. The Dodgers are the favorite to win the World Series, as they should be. They kind of put a halt to the Padres. Tatis he fell into a slump. He hasn't been there before, which happens. This guy's young. Mookie Betts,
he's been there.
Just took them to another level against the Padres. He goes, I've been here before. I know what it takes to play these pressure.
They all have been there. When you look around the roster, and that's something that, a lot of people don't want to put emphasis on it, but when you walk out on the field,
that makes a big difference.
And it says MLB playoff baseball, and the media's on you, and you're on top of every pitch. And it's just a different monster. And for the managers that are there, and this is where Dave Roberts has a little bit more of a runway. He's made mistakes in the postseason. Managers that are making mistakes right now, not making that defensive change, I know it's not it's regular season and it's not a big deal, but in the World Series, the Texas Rangers don't have a ring because they did not make a defensive replacement in right field.
Nelson Cruz.
For Nelson. And it wasn't Nelson's fault. He was out of position, meaning he wasn't the best defender at that moment.
Somebody else catches that ball.
Bill Buckner.
Else catches that ball.
Bill Buckner had not played the whole year first base to end
it. He's given it examples like Tingler, the guy from the Padres, Ricky, the guy with the White Sox. These guys haven't been there before. It's leading up to right now. Every game is basically crucial.
Not even been there before. Not even as a player.
Not even been there. Yeah, no experience.
No experience whatsoever.
So the Dodgers and the Padres just went through that series. Grisham hits a home run. They got a little excited. They started break, and then the Dodgers come back.
Well, that's what I think. I think with the Dodgers, they're doing the right thing because the Dodgers, and when you're the better team, and the team gets excited and does what they have to do, you have to shut it down. I've seen teams that don't shut it down. The White Sox face the Red Sox, so the defending champions. They let the Sox believe in themselves, knock them out. Same thing with Anaheim. I saw it with the Marlins in 2003. Like the World Series picture up there, you pan a little bit higher. They let the young team get hyped up and the team with more experience.
And you start believing.
So the Dodgers put a stop to that right away. But I do believe that the Dodgers also, their pitching is going to be set up. This is not going to be a postseason based on my 3 best pitchers.
Right.
This is not going to be a postseason of like Strasburg comes in the second inning. You have to be careful how you manage.
And there's no days off.
That's what I'm saying though. So you can't be like, I'm bringing in my starter in the third inning. You have to play like real baseball, and it's going to be super interesting. So I'm excited. I'm excited that the Dodgers made it.
And finally, we show the Dodgers some love. They play so out there in the West Coast. I think they deserve it. I hope Dave Roberts gets his first ring. It'll be the COVID ring, but it's still a ring.
It's still a ring for him. For him, it'll be a ring. So because if he loses,
they'd be in another trouble. Like we can't win.
Well, this is the other part though. Like if you get rid of Dave Roberts, like do you bring somebody else in to rebuild the?
Nah, that team is built. That team is built to win right now. And like you said, they have the most to lose. Why? Because they traded for Mookie Betts and they just signed him to an extension.
And Mookie's even playing second. Whatever he needs to do, he's doing it.
Which he did in the minors before, so it's not a big deal. But they're ready to win. They're built to win right now, and that is an ownership that once they win, they're not going to say we're done. They're going to keep investing.
So I'm going to make a bet. I'm going to place $100 bet on the Cleveland Indians.
I wouldn't want to face them in the playoffs.
They're if you bet $100 right now, if they win the World Series, if they win the American League, you win $1,500.
That's for $100.
For $100,
it's a solid bet. Solid.
Pitching
bet.
Is that the depth?
What wins in the playoffs?
Pitching. And again, I think this is why this is so intriguing. The Marlins, again, the Dodgers are not going to have an easy way in, but I think this is going to make the playoffs a lot more interesting. Just like this MVP race. So the MVP race gets super, super tight. I feel like the White Sox have 3 guys on their team that will make a run for it. People don't realize what Mike Trout's doing because he's with Anaheim and they're not winning, and what Nelson Cruz had been doing until he had the 2 bad games. But the race is not done. I literally feel this is going to go
to the wire,
all the way to the wire. Do you believe that a player's team's record matters in an MVP race or not?
I actually think it does, because that I believe it's harder to play when there's pressure on you to deliver. I know we've had MVPs before being last place, A-Rod, Andre Dawson, but I feel like the MVP should come from Jose Abreu. I mean, Tim Anderson's been great, but I don't think he should be the MVP. Mm-hmm. He's the catalyst. Or Nelson Cruz. Why? Because starting today, it's only 2 games. The Twins are back. Twins win today, they go to 1 game back. They're going to go down to the wire, scoreboard watching. Nelson Cruz has more pressure to play than Mike Trout does. So does Abreu. Why? Because they're trying to win the division. So I don't care who you are. You can't tell me that the Angels, who've been out for 100 years, have the same pressure as these guys. The same, I agree with. I've always felt like the MVP should come from a team that's in the playoffs. That's just my opinion.
I think Andre Dawson's the last guy to win it with a last place team.
I know A-Rod.
A-Rod did
with Texas.
Texas. Again, your numbers have to be ridiculous.
You have to be like so much better than everybody else. But other than that, I feel like you need to be. That's why the Sox should be excited, because it's the first time they're going to have a Triple Crown since Frank. Granted, it's a 60-game season, but there's still a trophy. So we'll see what happens down the road. Jose Abreu, it would be nice to kind of get it, because I don't know him personally.
You think it hurts Nelson that he's at the age?
I think it does hurt Nelson Cruz,
because Abreu's defensive WAR has been saved 8 runs per.
Not only that, I feel like I've been watching Abreu. Abreu's scoring from first on doubles.
Yeah.
But anyone's seen Nelly Cruz? If Nelly Cruz all he needs is 2 or 3 games, he hits 5 home runs.
Yeah, if he gets hot,
and then the Minnesota jumps over the Sox, because there's a lot of important games here.
Stat wise, I think that Nelson has the edge on the power.
Yes, power numbers are his.
The RBIs and the singles.
Yeah, but
again, the defensive goes to Abreu. But it's going to be, I think, that who goes down to the wire,
whoever wins the division
wins the MVP.
Wins the MVP.
But also the voting is done before the playoffs, so that won't go into consideration.
Right? No, in the playoffs it won't matter.
It won't matter.
So whoever wins the division will win the MVP, which also puts more pressure on you when you think like, hey, we won the division. I'm probably going to win this. Jose Abreu, I feel like he's been very, very on a very bad team for the last 5-6 years. This would be him getting his just due and saying like,
even if they don't win,
we recognize it.
Even if they don't win the World Series, I think that for Abreu as a player, because I know a lot of White Sox fans are out there, why do we sign this guy? And we have Abreu's a dude. What I call a dude is a guy that
professional hitter.
We're seeing Robert struggle.
He's struggling right now.
I'm saying that we're seeing getting 100 RBIs.
They all struggle.
When people say, "Oh, RBIs don't matter," well, how come other guys don't get 100 RBIs? I know they have to come with the opportunity, but so I think that when you talk about dudes, guys that have done it consistently, he is one of those guys. Again, a 60-game season to him, it's going to be. Why not?
And it's a guy that you've seen it do it through 162.
Correct. So it's not like a random Donovan Solano winning the batting title,
hitting 355.
Correct.
It's like,
correct.
I mean,
the benefit of the doubt, and again, I think it'll be great. He's a great guy. Loves the Chicago White Sox. It would be the first MVP since the Big Hurt days.
And he's Hispanic. He's from Cuba.
So on Hispanic Heritage Month, Mr. Abreu could win. So it's really cool having Nelson and him both competing for the MVP.
And that doesn't change anything. Mike Trout's still the best player in baseball.
Yeah, he's like, hey guys.
So
MLB postseason, talking about something Mike Trout's not doing.
I mean, he's going to be in the area. He probably could go, catch a small quick little ride and go to San Diego or go to Houston.
So MLB postseason is going to be played, and they're talking about a bubble. Okay, a bubble. Again, Major League Baseball needs to explain it to me because
they're not talking about it. They already said it is going to be.
But I need rules because I did not know the rules until Clevenger and Plesac got busted. That when you're at home, you can do whatever you wanted, but on the road, you couldn't do that. So I want to see the bubble rules, not because I care. I'm just curious. I really don't think. Well, you think that they will allow fans in some capacity in the postseason?
Yes.
Do you think that's a smart idea?
I think that MLB decided to go with those states for a reason. To say, hey, there's been talk about Texas possibly having a small group of fans or, whatever protocols they need to use it. I think NBA was in the forefront as far as the bubble. I think it'll be good because at the most you're going to be in the bubble for a month if you're there the whole time.
Correct. If you're in the first round, you're there less than a week.
Right. Guys in the NBA were there for 70 days, more than 2.5 months. It got to them.
Yeah, physically, mentally.
But
I really think that I think that the advantage. This is going to be the first World Series playoff that's going to be played in a neutral site, meaning weather won't be bothering you.
Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Think about it like the Super Bowl with the longer series. Weather, if you're in Chicago when you're playing in October, it's cold.
Yeah.
It does affect it. In Minnesota, it's cold.
Well, people for the White Sox, they're like, "Oh, I'm like, you rather play in warm weather for all those guys. They don't want to play." Luis Robert is not used to playing.
Neither is Moncada. Those
-30.
Eloy Jimenez, they want to play in warm weather.
Yeah, you guys think Eloy's going to be rocking his shirt down here with the open shirt?
No. Which I think, in that sense, it's better for everybody as far as the weather because everyone gets an even playing field. No complaints about like, oh my God, it's 55 degrees, 50 degrees, and you're facing Shane Bieber. Say good luck, one run, and good night because hitting is hard. And hitting
without being cold.
Right, hitting in cold weather. Forget about it. That's why all the runs in the postseason, all the games are so low scoring. It's simple. It goes hand in hand. The other thing is there's going to be teams that are closer to their families than others. I'm sure that down the road, they say some of the family members are the ones that are allowed in the stadium, like the NBA did. So I'm glad that the MLB, they didn't wait. They jumped on it. They said, this is what we're doing. They already put out their schedule about who plays who. Now it's all about seeding. Who gets what seed? The Sox are going to be in the playoffs. We all know that. It's just seeing what seed are they going to go to.
I think the seed makes a difference. Like,
yes.
The Indians in the 8th seed.
I don't want to face them in the 8th seed. Have you not seen the Yankees? They won 7 in a row. They're getting healthy. Judge is back.
Santa's back. Again, talking about experience, 2 days ago, El Mago had a walk-off.
And they have the second best record in the NL, or the first best record. I'm like, the Cubs are. It's about peaking.
So they've been there. The Cubs have been there, and their manager has been there as a player. I think that when you've been there as a player, I think that the emotions you can control yourself,
and they don't panic.
That's what I'm talking about. You don't know in analytics, okay, and your manager skills, you can prepare yourself to being there, but you've never been there. Okay, you've never been there, not even as a backup.
Yeah, you can't simulate that.
You can't simulate that situation. So again, I think it does take a step. I think the players still will be players and stand up. People don't realize this, man. You look at Barry Bonds' playoff numbers before being on the Giants; they were horrendous. He couldn't adapt. Ken Griffey Jr. In the playoffs, big name guys that early on in their career, Frank Thomas early on, and then there's guys like Miguel Cabrera that first Andrew Jones first postseason didn't really get to. And that's when you see unsung heroes, guys that Jeff Long. It's funny you bring that up because everyone's hating on Mazzara, Nomar Mazzara, and they're winning. They have the best record right now in Major League Baseball. At any given day, it's either have it or don't have it, but they're one of the best teams.
They're in the mix.
I'm like, if Nomar Mazzara gets a game-winning home run in round number 1,
they'll love him.
They'll love him forever. Again, their team's winning with the guy that's there.
I like to tell people one thing. Even teams that have won the World Series, there's a guy struggling on that team.
There's always a guy struggling.
Because you can't have 9 guys be good. On the Sox in 05, I'm sure my dad would have loved Aaron Rose.
By the way, the fan favorite of that 05 team. Go look up his stats.
He would have loved Aaron Rose. The Sox would have loved him for him to do better offensively.
And that's why by the way, and that's why there was moves made for the 2006 season because they were like,
but you have to remember,
to survive with
you find me a good team. There's somebody on that team that's struggling.
I think depth comes in.
And you have to know your role. Like, okay, like play Adam Engel. You did for 3 years, and you know what he can do. So please think. Adam Engel is not an everyday player.
And again, in the age of platooning,
just platoon them. Play your matchups. Play your guts. Mazzara's going to play one day. Adam Engel plays one. He has a couple hits. Play him again. Then you keep flip flopping. Because if in an ideal world, you have 3 Luis Roberts. Yeah. You switch Eloy Jimenez. He doesn't play defense every inning. Yeah. You just let him hit. This isn't a men's league.
Yeah, it's not.
Not everyone can do everything great.
Correct. And those are things that when you really look at it and you really focus on it, just things that are part of the game. And let us know who you think.
The most important stat is how do you make a W?
The W.
It's W. That's all that matters.
Correct, especially this season.
That's all that matters.
I think that this year's stats are the ones that did well. Are going to matter. For the ones that don't, I think the W is going to be what we remember.
And they're going to give Bias a bye for hitting 230.
If he goes to World Series, they don't care.
Correct.
So Hispanic Heritage Month, it's a special month. You should always be
proud of your background.
Or where you're from. And I think, for you, what does it mean for you to be Hispanic, Latino, Hispanic Heritage Month? So you were born in Venezuela.
Yes. I have
you
strong.
Have to go to the whole citizen thing.
Yeah, I have a strong. Yeah, right. Because Ozzy was born here, so he automatically got a blue passport. But he grew up in Venezuela. We grew up between both places, but we went to school in Venezuela. We grew up there, family, everything. I have a strong feeling about this because I feel like we should always be proud of where we come from. But I feel like if you come from another country and you weren't born here, I feel like you should adhere to this country's laws, be grateful, be happy that they let you in here, that they let you make a living, that they let you better the lives of everyone around you. And that's what this country is based on. America is a land of opportunity because other countries won't afford opportunities, for those people. So being a Latino to me is about being family oriented, being hardworking, just being a good person overall, and represent your Latino heritage and represent your Latino pride in your culture, but don't let it get in the way of blinding you of not obeying the laws and making your own rules. I'm not in Venezuela.
So I think that the word that I like to say is I think that we don't need a month. We don't need an Independence Day. We don't need anything to show how Latino we are.
I'm Venezuelan. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
You want to be you want to be bring most pride to your culture?
Then do right by it.
So I feel like you being a good dad, okay, not falling into cliches, you being the best you could be, hardworking. So I think that family is one thing that everyone has in common. I think that hard work ethic is one thing. And then we're survivors. I think that, Latinos is a group of survivors. And I think that we're lucky in a place where they let you celebrate Hispanic heritage.
They give you a lot of freedom.
I'm saying though, we're not celebrating nothing in Venezuela.
No.
But like no one's celebrating anything unless you're Venezuelan. And that's something that I'm grateful for the United States. I think that baseball embodies that. And I also think that, again, you don't forget where you're from. And I think it's really cool that some of these players are not from the United States.
And they embrace.
I'm saying they embrace it because you're now represented, and you don't have to be that way. Like you come from Venezuela, when guys come here, they're like they're thinking they're representing their team and maybe Venezuela. They have no idea that they're going to have to represent a whole group of Latino community, and that's something that I think that Hispanic heritage. I also like it because it helps me see what other Latinos are doing in other aspects. Again, we dominate in sports. Now we dominate in music, meaning everyone listens to Latino music. Nightclubs are cool to be Latino.
It's a thing now.
It's a thing now. It's like we're like the cool, like the it group. You know, we get half times of the Super Bowl.
Thanks, J-Lo.
Thanks, J-Lo. So I think that we're like in the cool era.
Yeah, and I mean, and I think to piggyback on what you said, it's about having good morals and know that when you are judged, they're gonna see you what race you represent.
Correct. And no one and that's a bias that people have, and it is what it is.
Right.
So again, hope you're celebrating.
I mean, you see those flags behind us. It's Venezuela and then the United States.
I didn't realize I had them.
Yeah, Venezuela and the United States are right behind us.
No, people don't realize it's like when you look at that we're from Venezuela, but Ozzy cannot win the World Series without having the opportunity to come.
And that's why I feel like
people,
us Latinos, should be very proud of where we come from, but also show that same pride with your American side.
Oh, correct.
And that means eventually, go out. If I'm voting this year, everyone should vote. This is a year that
this is a year where everybody votes. So
correct. So
Hispanic
get out there and vote.
Month, enjoy it, love it. Let us know when you're thinking. Follow La Vida Baseball on social media. We have great content from baseball to culture to pop to politics to leadership. All genders, all Latino, and they'll tell you different aspects of what they believe and how they like to represent the Latino culture. So thank you for the messages. Thank you for the comments. We will see you here next week on La Vida Baseball. Being Guillén. Do not forget to subscribe and follow the podcast for past episodes on demand and keep supporting Being Guillén. So good luck, stay safe, and we will see you next week. What do you guys do?
Oh, Lord.